You exist between the chimes. The ship's clock marks a life in sterile gray blocks. 8 hours for duty, 8 hours for maintenance, 8 hours for recharge in a coffin-sized bunk. The rest of your time is your own, a meaningless distinction in the endless dark. Your world is recycled air and the low hum of life support. It is the taste of static on your tongue. Food is not food anymore. It is nutrient paste, a gray, grainy substance dispensed from a nozzle. It holds every vitamin, every mineral the body needs. But it has no soul. It is the taste of survival, and you have come to hate survival. You think it tastes like giving up, like the color of a forgotten sky. But you have a secret, tucked away in a decommissioned maintenance duct, behind a bypassed security panel. Here, there is a different kind of life, a small, defiant patch of green. Your garden is a crime, a glorious, fragrant, unforgivable crime. 6 pots of soil stolen from the terraforming stores, 1 flickering grow lamp jury-rigged to a power conduit. Here, the air does not taste of static. It tastes of damp earth, of crushed mint, of the sharp, clean scent of rosemary. This is the last scent of home, a ghost of a world you barely remember, a world the fleet was forced to leave behind. You crush a leaf between your fingers. You inhale. It is the only real thing in a universe of ghosts. You know the regulations. Chapter 4, Section 9. Unauthorized cultivation of biological materials is forbidden. It risks contaminating the closed systems. It wastes power and water. It is an act of sentiment. And sentiment is a liability. The fleet cannot afford liabilities. But you look at the gray paste on your tray tonight. You cannot do it. Not tonight. There is a man you see in the mess hall. A pilot from the 3rd Wing named Kale. He used to have a fire in his eyes, a swagger in his walk. Now, he is a hollowed-out thing. He stares at the gray paste. He does not eat it. He just moves it around the tray with a fork. He is starving his body. His soul is already gone. You make a decision. A dangerous, foolish decision. You will break the rules for this one broken man. You go to your secret place. The air wraps around you like a warm memory. You snip a sprig of rosemary. You take a precious, hoarded potato. You have a sliver of preserved protein. This will be more than a meal. It will be a memory. You cook on a small, illegal heating element. The smell is terrifying. It is so rich, so real. It could travel through the vents. It could betray you in an instant. The aroma of roasted potato and rosemary fills your small space. It feels louder than a klaxon. But you must do this. You are not just feeding a man. You are fighting the gray. You are fighting the endless static. You find Kale in a quiet corner of the observation deck. He is watching the star-dusted blackness drift by. He looks like he might drift away with it. You hold out the small covered bowl. He does not look at you. His eyes are fixed on the void. You speak softly, a whisper against the ship's hum. This is for you. He turns his head slowly. He sees the bowl. Suspicion clouds his features. Anything different is a threat, a trick, a problem. You lift the lid. The steam rises. It carries the scent of your garden, the scent of a forgotten world. His eyes widen, just a fraction, but it is a start. What is this? He asks. His voice is rough, unused. It's a memory, you tell him. You hand him the fork. My grandmother used to make this. After the first rain of autumn, the whole house would smell like this. You pause, letting the words hang in the air. She would tell me stories while it cooked, silly stories about the sun and the moon. He takes the fork. He looks from the food to your face. He is searching for the trap. But there is no trap, only a shared secret. He takes a small bite. His eyes close. A single tear traces a path through the grime on his cheek. It is the first water he has shed in years. You watch as a flicker of light returns to his soul. He eats the entire bowl in silence. Every bite is slow, deliberate. He is not just eating food. He is consuming a story of rain he cannot remember, a story of a grandmother he never knew. When he is done, he looks at you. The hollowness is still there, but it is smaller now. There is something else in his eyes. A question. Why? He asks. Because, you say, taking the empty bowl. No one should have to live on static. You leave him there, staring out at the stars. But now, his gaze is different. He is not looking at the emptiness of space. He is looking at the memory of a home he could almost taste. The whispers start a week later. They are quiet, passed in crowded corridors, shared in the low light of the engine rooms. Kyle looks better. He still moves slowly, but his eyes are clear. He meets your gaze in the mess hall. He gives you a small, almost imperceptible nod. It is a thank you. It is a secret kept. Then comes the first knock on your door. A young engineer, a girl no older than 20. She has shadows under her eyes, the kind that come from staring at schematics for too long. She holds out a broken power converter, a peace offering. I heard you have a hobby, she says. Her voice is barely audible. I can fix things. Maybe your lamp is flickering. It is a code, a password. You let her in. You show her the garden. Her gasp is a tiny, beautiful thing. She has never seen a real plant before, only pictures in a databank. You give her a small bowl of soup, flavored with thyme. You tell her a story about summer evenings on a porch, about fireflies blinking in the twilight. She leaves with the taste of summer on her tongue, and the story becomes part of her. The next day, the power to your grow lamp is steadier, more reliable, more discreet. The engineer has rerouted it through a redundant system. She has shielded your crime. She has joined your conspiracy of hope. More people come. A grizzled deckhand brings you a bag of scavenged nutrient filters. He says they can be cleaned to provide better water for your plants. You give him a piece of flatbread with crushed garlic. You tell him about crowded city markets, the sound of 1,000 voices bargaining and laughing. He closes his eyes, and for a moment, he is there. You are becoming something new. A priestess of forgotten things, a keeper of scents and flavors. The people who visit you do not speak of it openly, but their steps are lighter. Their work is sharper. They carry a secret light within them, a warmth that nutrient paste can never provide. You are a beacon in the endless gray night, a dangerous, beautiful beacon. The fleet is a machine, a perfectly balanced system of inputs and outputs, and you are an anomaly, a variable it cannot compute. Small changes have begun to appear in the fleet's data. A fractional increase in efficiency in section gamma, a measurable decrease in stress-related illnesses in the third wing. These are tiny ripples, but the Admiral sees every ripple. Admiral Vance is the mind of the fleet, a man forged in the cold calculus of survival. He took command during the Exodus. He made the hard choices that saved them all. He cut away the dying parts. He sacrificed ships. He sacrificed sentiment. He believes in one thing only, the mission. And the mission is to endure. His senior aide brings him the report. A quiet man with eyes that miss nothing. The Admiral reviews the data on his console. The numbers are clean, unemotional, but they tell a story he does not understand. The morale spikes are localized. They center around a single crew quarter. Your quarter. He zooms in on the internal schematics. He sees the unusual power drain, a tiny, insignificant amount. But it is not authorized. It is not standard. What is happening in Deck 7? The Admiral asks. His voice is calm. It is always calm. That is what makes it so unnerving. We are not certain, Admiral, the aide replies. There are whispers, rumors of contraband. The Admiral leans back in his chair. The chair is the only comfort in his sparse, gray office. He looks at the star chart on the main screen. 1,000 points of light, 1,000,000 empty spaces between them. Hope, he believes, is a poison. It makes you long for what you cannot have. It distracts you from the reality of the void. This small, unauthorized hope on Deck 7 is a disease, and he is the physician who must cut it out before it spreads, before it compromises the entire body of the fleet. The summons comes on a sterile data slate. It is not a request. It is a command. You are to report to the Admiral's office immediately. The walk to the command deck is the longest of your life. Every person you pass seems to know. Their eyes are filled with fear for you, for the small, warm secret you all share. You feel like you are carrying all of their hopes with you, and you are walking toward the man who will extinguish them. The doors to his office slide open with a soft hiss. The room is cold, utterly silent. Admiral Vance stands before the large viewport. His hands are clasped behind his back. He is a silhouette against the endless stars. He does not turn to look at you. Report, he says. The word is not an invitation. It is a scalpel. You stand straight. Your heart is a frantic drum against your ribs. Sir. Crewman, second class, reporting as ordered. I have read the reports, he says, finally turning. His eyes are the color of deep space, cold and ancient. Explain the morale deviations in your sector. Explain the power fluctuations from your quarters. There's no point in lying. He would know. I grow things, Admiral. You grow things, he repeats. The words are flat, devoid of judgment, which is worse than anger. You cultivate nostalgia. You dispense memories of a world that is dead, a world we had to abandon to survive. He walks toward you. His presence fills the room. Every resource on this fleet is critical, every watt of power, every drop of water. You waste them on decorative sentiment, on flavors and scents that serve no purpose. They serve a purpose, sir, you say, your voice stronger than you expected. And what purpose is that? He demands. To make the crew weak? To make them long for the past? We are moving forward. We must forget what we have lost, or it will anchor us until we die. He stops directly in front of you. The old world is ash. Let it die. That is an order. The words hit you like a physical blow. Let it die. Let the memory of sunlight and rain and soil turn to dust. Accept the gray paste. Accept the static. Become a machine that only endures. You look at his hard, unyielding face, and you see a flicker of the same exhaustion you saw in Kale. He is just better at hiding it. No, sir, you say quietly. His eyes narrow. You are refusing a direct order? No, sir. I am telling you that you are wrong. The audacity of your words hangs in the air. A guard by the door shifts his weight. This is insubordination. This is the end. But you have to try. Hope is not a liability. It is a weapon. A will to live is more powerful than any ration bar. You have forgotten what we are fighting to survive for. He stares at you. A long, silent moment stretches into an eternity. He is calculating, weighing your life against the stability of his fleet. You see the cold logic working behind his eyes. You see your opening, a desperate, impossible chance. "Give me one meal," you say, the words tumbling out. "One meal for your senior command staff. Let me show you what I do. Let me prove that what I offer is not a weakness. It is our greatest strength." He raises an eyebrow. The first sign of emotion you have seen. "You want to wager your life on a dinner party?" "I am wagering that we are more than just survivors," you counter. "I am wagering that we are still human. If I am wrong, if they feel nothing, then I will dismantle the garden. I will accept any punishment." The admiral is silent for another long moment. He is a master of strategy. He understands calculated risks. He sees the logic in your illogical proposal, a live demonstration, a test to destruction. He could crush this nascent rebellion quietly, or he could let it play out. And if it fails, the failure will be public. A lesson for the entire fleet. "Very well," he says, his voice like chipping ice. "You will have your meal. You will serve my bridge crew tomorrow at 1900 hours. In my private mess." He turns back to the viewport. "Do not disappoint me. You will only have one chance to prove your unusual theory." You are dismissed. You walk out of his office on shaky legs. You have just gambled everything. On a sprig of rosemary and a story. It feels like a terrible joke. A chef against an admiral at the end of the world. But as you walk back to your quarters, you also feel a flicker of something you thought was long gone. The fiery, defiant taste of hope. You work all day. You do not sleep. You are not just a cook. You are an artist, an archaeologist of the senses. You gather your most precious resources, the plumpest tomatoes, the most fragrant basil, the last of your hoarded garlic. Each ingredient is a note in a symphony you are composing, a symphony of a lost earth. You start with the bread. You have a small amount of real wheat flour. It is worth more than gold. You knead the dough by hand. The motion is ancient, primal. You are connecting with a billion mothers and fathers you never knew. People who baked bread for their families. As you work, you whisper the stories into the dough. A story of harvest festivals, of golden fields under a blue sky. Next, a soup. A simple tomato and basil soup. But the flavor is anything but simple. It is the taste of a summer garden. The warmth of the sun captured in a single red fruit. You remember a story your father told you. About picking tomatoes from the vine in his backyard, about eating them like apples, the juice running down his chin. You pour that memory into the pot. The main course is the riskiest. A slow-roasted protein with rosemary and garlic, served with the potato kale 8. It is the meal that started all this. The memory of a hearth, of a family gathering on a cold night. The smell fills your small quarters. It is an act of pure rebellion, an aromatic declaration of war against the gray. You arrange everything on a salvaged metal tray. It is not elegant, but the colors are vibrant. The deep red of the soup, the green of the basil, the golden brown of the bread. It is a splash of life against the dull metal of the ship. You are ready. You are terrified. You are about to serve ghosts to the most haunted men and women in the fleet. You arrive at the admiral's private mess. It is as sterile as his office. The command crew is already there. 7 of them, plus the admiral. They are the hardest people on the fleet. The ones who have seen the most, lost the most. Their faces are masks of disciplined control. They look at you and your tray of food with open suspicion. This is an unwelcome disruption to their routine. As I explained, the admiral says to them, his voice flat, This crewman believes that tactical performance can be improved through culinary nostalgia. She has been granted this opportunity to demonstrate her theory. His tone makes it clear what he thinks of the idea. You serve them in silence. You place a bowl of soup, a slice of bread, a plate with a roasted meal. They stare at it. No one moves. It is a standoff. You and your food against centuries of military discipline. This is a bad idea. A very, very bad idea. Then the tactical officer, a woman named Jin, picks up her spoon. She has a reputation for being colder than the admiral. She fought at the siege of Orion. She lost her entire family in the first week of the Exodus. She dips her spoon into the soup. She raises it to her lips. She tastes it. Her eyes close. For just a second, her iron control cracks. A line appears between her brows, not of anger, of pain, of memory. She sets the spoon down. Her hand is trembling. She does not look at anyone. She just stares at the red soup as if she has seen a ghost. One by one, the others begin to eat. The gruff chief engineer, the young, brilliant navigator. They eat slowly, tentatively, and with each bite, you see the masks begin to slide. The engineer puts down his fork. He clears his throat. "My mother," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "She used to grow tomatoes in a window box. In our apartment on the 47th floor, they never got very big. But they tasted like this." A silence falls over the room. It is a different kind of silence now, not cold and sterile. It is heavy with unspoken memories. The navigator, a young man who was born on the fleet, looks at the bread in his hand. "I've only seen pictures of wheat fields," he says softly. "I never knew it could taste like this. Like sunshine. They all have a story. They all have a ghost awakened by the meal. They talk. For the first time, not about duty or logistics or survival. They talk about homes they have lost, about families they miss. They share their pain. And in sharing it, the burden becomes a little lighter. You watch the admiral. He has not touched his food. He has only watched his crew. He watches them transform from hardened officers into people. He sees the light of memory in their eyes, the strength it gives them, the reminder of what they are all fighting for. He sees a crew that is not weakened by the past, but fortified by it. Admiral Vance finally picks up his fork. He takes a single bite of the potato with rosemary. He chews slowly. His face is unreadable. He sets the fork down. He looks at you. His cold, calculating eyes have something new in them. Respect. He has witnessed a power he did not understand, a weapon he did not know he possessed. The iron will of the admiral has not broken. It has been reforged. "Your theory has merit," he says. The words are quiet, but they resonate like a shockwave through the room. A crew that remembers why it fights is a stronger crew. He stands. This experiment is over. It is now fleet policy. The next day, your life changes forever. You are given a new title, Keeper of the Archive. Your small garden is moved to a proper hydroponics bay. It is expanded. You are given a staff. The engineer who fixed your lamp is your first recruit. The deckhand who brought you filters is now in charge of water recycling for the new garden division. An order goes out to the entire fleet. Every ship is to designate a section for cultivation. Hydroponics labs, once used for sterile experiments, are repurposed. They become patches of earth in the cold dark. People start to grow things. Small, simple things. Herbs, leafy greens, the occasional miraculous tomato. The gray ships of the fleet begin to bleed green. It is not just about food. It is a revolution of the soul. People share seeds like precious secrets. They trade tips on soil composition. They argue about the best way to grow basil in zero gravity. It gives them something to care for, something that is not a machine, something that connects them to their past and to each other. You teach them the stories. With every packet of seeds, you include a data file, a story about the plant, a recipe, a memory of the world they came from. The mess halls are no longer silent, gray places. They are filled with the murmur of conversation, the smells of cooking, the laughter of people sharing a real meal. The fleet is no longer just surviving. It is living, and it is all because of you. The fleet had found its soul again. For 2 years, a quiet peace settled over you all. The gardens bloomed. The stories were told. The gray had been pushed back by a wave of green. Then, one day, the long-range sensors screamed. A new variable had entered the equation, a ship, and it was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It hung at the edge of the system. A silent, impossible thing. It was not a shape you recognized. It had no visible engines, no weapon ports, no seams. It looked less like a machine and more like a piece of the void had been carved into a perfect, crystalline shape. It absorbed all light, a hole in the fabric of space. The fleet went to full alert. The old fears, the old disciplines, snapped back into place. Battle stations were manned. Shields were raised. The easy laughter in the mess halls died, replaced by a tense, waiting silence. The admiral's face was once again a mask of cold iron. But this time, you stood on the bridge with him, as the keeper of the archive, as a member of his command staff. For 3 days, the alien vessel did nothing. It just watched. It scanned the fleet with energies you could not comprehend. It was an observer, a cold, silent question hanging in the dark. The crew's nerves were stretched to the breaking point. The waiting was a form of torture. They were a military fleet. They were built for action, not for silence. Then a message came. Not through radio, not through any channel you understood. It appeared directly in the ship's master computer. It was not a language of words. It was a language of pure mathematics, of raw data. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. And your brilliant young navigator was the one to translate its intent. The message was a single, repeating question. It was a query about your fleet's survival metrics. The aliens, whom the crew began to call the observers, were confused. They had analyzed your energy consumption, your resource allocation, your population's psychological data, which they could somehow read from a distance. And your survival made no sense. Their logic was absolute, flawless. According to their calculations, your fleet should have failed a century ago. Your emotional signatures were chaotic, illogical. Your dedication of resources to the biological projects, the gardens, was grossly inefficient. You were a statistical impossibility, a bug in their grand cosmic equation. They wanted to understand how you still existed. The admiral's staff debated for hours. The tactical officer, Jin, argued for a show of force. Show them your strength. Show them that human illogicality is dangerous. Others argued for a cautious retreat. You were outmatched by a technology you could not even begin to understand. They could be a threat, a predator studying its prey before the strike. You listened to them all. And you watched the admiral. He was processing it all. The tactical problem, the resource problem, the impossible question asked by an impossible intelligence. He was playing a game of star-born chess in his mind, a game where he did not know the rules, or how the opponent's pieces moved. Finally, he looked at you. "Keeper," he said. The bridge went silent. They communicate in pure logic. They do not understand us. Sending them a military response is like shouting at a mathematician. It is the wrong language. He turned to the main screen, where the image of the crystalline ship hung in the void. "We will not send a soldier. We will not send a diplomat." He looked back at you, a strange, almost imperceptible gleam in his eyes. "We will send a storyteller. We will answer their logical question with an illogical answer." A shuttle was prepared, a small, unarmed vessel. It felt impossibly fragile as it sat in the launch bay. You were not given a weapon. You were not given a negotiating team. You were given a basket. Inside was a loaf of the bread you baked for the command staff, a small flask of the tomato soup, a single perfect red tomato from your own garden. Your mission was not to talk. It was not to threaten. It was to serve a meal, to answer a question about survival with the taste of home. The admiral himself walked you to the shuttle. He placed a hand on your shoulder. "They see us as a bug in the system," he said. "Show them we are a feature." The shuttle journey was short and silent. As you approached the alien ship, a section of its seamless hull simply dissolved. It created an opening for you, a silent, unnerving invitation. You docked. The air inside was breathable. The temperature was comfortable. The ship was waiting for you. You stepped into a vast, white chamber. There was no visible technology, just empty space. And then, they appeared. They were not solid beings. They were shifting columns of light and geometry, crystalline structures of pure thought. They had no faces, no voices, but you could feel their attention, a cold, intense curiosity. You did not speak. You simply knelt. You opened your basket. You laid out a small cloth on the floor. You placed the bread, the soup, the tomato. You broke the bread. The scent filled the sterile air. It was a defiant, living smell in a place of pure logic. A question formed in your mind, a question from them. They did not understand the purpose of this ritual. So you told them, not with your voice, but with your mind. You focused on the bread. You sent them the story of the wheat, the image of a golden field, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the memory of the harvest, the communal act of breaking bread, a concept that had no place in their logical framework. They shifted, their light patterns flickered. They were processing. They were trying to fit the data into their understanding of the universe. It was an anomaly they could not discard. Then you offered the soup. You sent them the memory of the summer garden, the taste of the sun-warmed fruit, the feeling of family, of safety, of love. These were not data points. They were feelings. And you were broadcasting them into the heart of a being made of pure math. One of the light columns drifted closer. A tendril of light extended from it. It touched the soup, not physically. It seemed to absorb its information, its essence. The light in the chamber pulsed. It changed color, from a cold, analytical white to a soft, warm gold. You had given them a new equation, the logic of emotion, the efficiency of hope, the strategic value of memory. They tasted the bread, and they understood resilience. They tasted the soup, and they understood community. They saw the tomato, a fragile, living thing, and they understood what it meant to fight for something beautiful. The pact was not written. It was understood. They did not become your allies, not in the human sense. They became patrons, guardians. They saw humanity not as a flaw in the universe, but as a fascinating, beautiful, and utterly illogical variable. a species that fed its fleets on spice and stories, a species that answered the cold logic of the void with the warmth of a hearth. They recognized a power they themselves did not possess, and they wanted to watch it grow. Your fleet was no longer just a band of survivors. The arrival of the observers changed your mission. You were not simply running from a dead past. You were building a living future. With the silent, watchful presence of the observers, your fleet was safe from other, less curious threats. You had time to grow, time to remember. The gardens flourished. Every ship in the fleet became a living archive of Earth's biology, a library of flavors and scents. Children were now born into a world of green. They learned their history not from data slates, but from the taste of a fresh strawberry, the smell of crushed mint, the story of the soil. Your role as keeper was now the most important in the fleet. You were the chief gardener, the head librarian, the primary storyteller. You taught new generations how to cultivate the past, how to nurture the memories that had saved you all. You ensured that the soul of humanity, carried in the simple seeds of an old world, would never be lost to the gray static of the void. The fleet became a beacon, a strange and wonderful legend among the stars. The fleet that met strangers not with weapons, but with bread. The fleet that was powered not just by reactors, but by memories. You were no longer just a military force. You were a civilization, a star-born hearth in the endless night. And you, the woman who once broke the rules for a single sprig of rosemary, were its eternal keeper.